Thank you, Patsy, for that introduction, and I also wish to thank the organising committee of the conference for the invitation and to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land. What I'm going to do in my allotted time is talk about the nature of our discipline of palliative care, but to use poetry as a way of looking perhaps at this in more depth. Death from a life-limiting illness usually comes slowly, inexorably. When the disease is aggressive, it may come quickly before there is time to prepare, leaving family and friends floundering in its wake. That death comes is universal. How it comes, with what stealth or cold abruptness, is as individual as the signature that we leave on this earth. The practice of palliative care is one of daily exposure to the manner of death. We feel its movement, its rhythm. We know its dangers and turbulence. We are expectant but never complacent. Our vigilance, combined with our skills, can convert the tumultuous into the calm, the traumatic into the tranquil. But all of this requires experience, a repeated exposure to the illness, deterioration and death of patients. We observe, we learn, we act, but we never truly know. For while we may be among those healthcare professionals who have the greatest exposure to death, we will never completely understand death in all its mysterious depths. The American poet Edna St. Vincent Millay, the first woman to win the Pulitzer Prize for poetry, abided with these mysteries. With her striking early poem Renaissance, through to her later work, she examined and re-examined loss, death and grief. Her voice was clear and immediately it commanded the reader's attention, as in this poem, Conscientious Objector. I shall die, but that is all I shall do for death. I hear him leading his horse out of the stall. I hear the clutter on the barn door. He is in haste. He has business in Cuba, business in the Balkans, many calls to make this morning, but I will not hold the bridle while he chinches the girth, and he may mount by himself. I will not give him a leg up. Though he flick my shoulders with his whip, I will not tell him which way the fox ran. With his hoof on my breast, I will not tell him where the black boy hides in the swamp. I shall die, but that is all I shall do for death. I am not on his payroll. I will not tell him the whereabouts of my friends, nor of my enemies either. Though he promise me much, I will not map him the route to any man's door. Am I a spy in the land of the living, that I would deliver men to death? Brother, the password and the plans of our city are safe with me. Never through me shall you be overcome. There is a menace to the music of this poem. The eye circles death in a dance of defiance. The eye is both wary and weary. It has seen death before. It knows its haste, its business, its sprawling power. But equally, the eye knows itself. In addition to menace, the poem has a wonderful symmetry, for it balances the rapaciousness of death with the clarity of conscience. No matter what else happens, the voice declares, I will not be doing anything to help. Fully informed, grounded through experience, the I becomes the conscientious objector. The poem opens in the centre of a vast circle. It commences with a statement of the narrator's own mortality. I shall die. This is a fact that is conceded but tied to another fact, that death is the sum total of all that the narrator concedes. For the remainder of the poem, the narrating voice concedes nothing else. It does not assist. It refuses to inform. It cannot stop the actions of death, but it refuses to participate in them. I will not give him a leg up. I will not tell him. I will not map out the route. Death, faceless and insistent, is going about his business. He is leading out his horse. There is a quiet disgust to he is in haste that becomes explicit with he may mount by himself. There is courage here also. The refusal to participate includes both large things, actively informing, mapping out the route, and small things, holding the bridle, giving a leg up. We have been told that nothing but the narrator's own death will be conceded. Now we see the extent of the non-concession. It is total. The silence is implacable. I will not tell him which way the fox ran. I will not tell him the whereabouts of my friends, nor of my enemies either. It is the nor of my enemies that gives the reader the final measure of the fullness of the objection. The I of the poem is implicitly saying, I could easily do that, but this also I refuse. As there are in many great poems, there are echoes here in imagery, the horsemen of the apocalypse, in language, Psalm 23. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. There are also echoes of totalitarianism. Throughout the 20th century, dictatorships arose. Security forces thrived on fear and the words of informants. Information could be purchased. I am not on his payroll, or extracted through torture with his hoof on my breast. In these regimes, many people risk death or imprisonment in precisely the same way as the narrator of this poem does. Ultimately, the narrator comes to ask the critical question that the poem has been leading to. Am I a spy in the land of the living, that I should deliver men to death? This rhetorical question is full of exasperation, indeed outrage. The answer is both clear and compassionate. It is spoken in a whisper to the reader and by extension to all humans. Never through me shall you be overcome. These are words of consolation. They are also words of humanity. We are all the boy in the swamp. We are all the friends and the enemies. We have a common life. We are all citizens of the city of the living. And so the poem ends as it commences, with reassurance. It employs the language of defiance, not denial. The voice is not saying that we shall not die. It is not saying that death can be held at bay, because it knows that it cannot. It is simply saying that death will not be assisted, that death can act alone. What is the role of medicine in death? Medicine witnesses death. In some circumstances and in certain disciplines, it witnesses death repeatedly. Are we collaborators? Are we simply making the job of death easier? No, we are very much in the resistance movement. We are not inviting death into people's lives. We have seen too much of that. We are constantly pursuing ways to prevent or cure disease, and when that is not possible, to ease the suffering of our patients. We are conscious of the fabric of suffering. The discipline of palliative care has a particular role here. Sometimes we are the first to be aware of changes in our patients, the rhythm of symptoms, the enlarging of the liver, the radiology report of disease progression. I hear him leading his horse out of the stall. I hear the clutter on the barn door. He is in haste. In palliative care, we do not hold the horse. We do not whisper the names. We know the ways of death. We look death clearly in the face. We do not turn and flee. We are sorrowful but never intimidated. We belong to a special section of the resistance movement. We are not fighting a guerrilla war to defeat death. We know we cannot do that. Our resistance lies on a deeper plane. We cannot take away the fact of death, but we can make gentle its effect. To the houses of those that death has marked, we arrive. We do our best to repair the damaged fabric, the turbulence of the physical, the incalculable loss of normality, the fear of the future, the slow stripping away of independence. We stand in the doorway, and as death moves by, we are silent reminders of the fact that while death shall have its dominion, it should never have its domination. For there are some things that are beyond its grasp: memory, legacy, love, the pursuit of comfort, the calming of fragile nights, the embrace of days, however limited. The poem's narrator sees the land of the living as a city. The password and the plans are safe with me. People may hold on to that citizenship of the living with a furious determination. I cannot die because I have everything to live for, said a woman recently to me with a serious illness who had a mother of small children. Patients may pursue treatments, or at least doctors who offer those treatments. They may refuse to engage in any conversation that hovers over prognosis or finality, and urge their doctors expressly or implicitly to do the same. The tension between being ill and simultaneously yearning for better news can be profound. In Dirge Without Music, Millay examines the theme of death, this time from the perspective of grief. Dirge Without Music. I am not resigned to the shutting away of loving hearts in the cold ground. So it is, and so it shall be, for it has been, time out of mind. Into the darkness they go, the wise and the lovely. Crowned with lilies and with laurel they go, but I am not resigned. Lovers and thinkers, into the earth with you. Be one with the dull, the indiscriminate dust, a fragment of what you felt, of what you knew, a formula, a phrase remains, but the best is lost. The answers, quick and keen, the honest look, the laughter, the love, they are gone. They are gone to feed the roses. Elegant and curled is the blossom. Fragrant is the blossom. I know, but I do not approve. More precious was the light in your eyes than all the roses in the world. Down, down, down into the darkness of the grave, gently they go, the beautiful, the tender, the kind. Quietly they go, the intelligent, the witty, the brave. I know, but I do not approve, and I am not resigned. A species of resistance is the failure to resign. There is an audacity here, isn't there? What right do we have as mortal creatures to approve or disapprove of mortality? Our attitude towards this right has the same source as the conscientious objector's attitude towards death. We understand its certainty, but we are not resigned to its particularity. We rail against this death, the loss of this precious person. Such is loss, and such is the sorrow of love. Moving from the first poem to the second, we shift from a resistance to assisting to resistant to acquiescing. Two distinct shades of response. I will not help. I am not resigned. The words, I am not resigned, begin and end the poem. The poem is both a declaration and a reminder. It is a conversation with death, but the poet has the first and the last words. As readers of this poem, our eyes and ears are drawn to the people who have died. We are drawn from the universal to the individual. The poem doesn't ask why grief exists. Rather, it is the starting point of every conversation about grief. Tell me about this person. What do you most miss about them? The answers to these questions lie at the heart of the poem. The qualities of the living, intelligence, bravery, the wise and the lovely, are the deep undercurrents of the verse. The poet acknowledges that some things live on, the look, the phrase, the fragment of feeling, but for her, no consolation flows from this. The core of livingness is gone. The best is lost. Millet captures an insistence that often lies at the heart of bereavement. Do not attempt to fool me with platitudes or appeals to memory, for the best is gone, and I want the best back here beside me. To the bereaved, there is one simple and incontrovertible fact. More precious was the light in your eyes than all the roses in the world. As healthcare professionals working in palliative care, we walk the border country whose atmosphere suffuses these poems. While we face the certainty of death, we perpetually balance it with some specific imperatives. To be cleansing, we must be meticulous, for we are witnesses with responsibility. We cannot walk away. We are there as the calls are being made. We hear the clatter on the barn floor. Like Millet, we combine resistance and non-resignation. Death is insistence, but we have a voice. We quietly say to our patients and their families, never through me shall you be overcome. Thank you.